All right, so take two, everybody. Welcome. This meeting is being recorded. It is the Monday, May 2nd, 2020 Southwick Conservation Commission meeting. It is taking place via Zoom, and again, it is being recorded. So I think we've asked if anybody was recording it other than us. Is anybody recording it? All right, so let's just get into commissioners roll call. So we have Marisa Cook Obregon with us, Jerry Patria, Kevin Solak, and Dave McWilliams. We have an unidentified Brian. I'm not sure if he's one of the Brians on the committee or not. So we have four. We have a quorum regardless. So let's just go through some house cleaning items. First, before we get into anything else, I noticed that Sabrina is on the call, on the meeting with us. And I just want to announce to everybody, if you hadn't heard, that Sabrina Pooler was approved by the select board to come on board as the conservation coordinator. She has yet to officially start the job. She's got a couple of administrative hurdles to jump through yet, but hopefully by mid-May, she will be official to the position. So I just want to say congratulations to her and welcome her on board. Knock on fake wood here. The only other thing that we have to do is take a look at the meetings, the meeting minutes. Gene, it's just the meeting minutes for the 4th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I've gone through and read them. I did not find anything that I found that I needed to correct. Has anybody else gone through and read the minutes? And does anybody have anything that they feel they need to have corrected in the minutes? Mm-hmm. Nothing? Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of April 4th, 2022?
I'll move to accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
Kevin Solak seconds. Marissa, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Dave McWilliams votes aye. So we are good with that. All right, so we're going to start off. We have 6 new public hearings and a couple of continuations from our last meeting. So the first one is going to be a continuation from our last meeting, and that is an NOI filed for 194 Hillside Avenue. So who is with us from 194 Hillside?
Hello, everyone. Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates, representing the applicant.
Hey, Ryan.
How I'm doing tonight.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Matt just joined.
Share my screen here.
Okay, thank you. So noted. Mamet
Hey.
is joining
Got
us.
a little trouble with clicking the link there. Sorry about that.
Okay, so where we left off last time, proposed single-family home located within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. The property had partially been cleared prior to. We had a site visit where the limits of the house and the 50-foot buffer zone were staked out. Just to recap, the 50-foot buffer zone is this line here. And the majority of work will stay outside of that. However, there is a portion in the backyard where there will be lawn and site grading at the rear of the walkout basement and a proposed bioretention area that is located within the 50-foot buffer zone. Our silt fence limit of work is shown here. Everything outside of that limit of work that was previously cut will be reforested or left to reforest. The proposed well is shown here. We have a septic system out front located here. And trying to recall if anything else was brought up at the site visit, but I think it was pretty self-explanatory. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Yeah, Ryan. So for some reason, I thought that the 50-foot buffer actually wound up going through a portion of the home. But according to this map, that's not true.
That's correct. It just brushes the back corner and part of the deck at the rear of the house. Yep.
Okay, so that was, Romet was on that one. Jerry joined us and Dennis and Sabrina were on that. Any comments from anybody else from the commission that made those site visits?
I had a question, Dave.
Yeah.
Dennis Clark, acting coordinator. Ryan, we're out there, we noticed there was quite a bit of clearing done. How much of that clearing was done in the resource area without any permit?
And the actual wetland area itself is this area right here. And then that's probably, I don't have an exact square footage for you, but my guess would be somewhere around maybe 500 square feet or so, maybe less. And within
So
the
all the
actual
rest of it,
BBW.
the rest of it was all in the buffer area?
Correct. Yep.
Thanks.
So, Ryan, looking at the plans, right? I guess personally, my biggest concern is anything being done within the 50-foot buffer zone, right? And I think we've shown in the past that we can be accommodating outside between the 50 and the 100. But I guess I have a real issue with any structures in the 50-foot themselves. And in this case, that back right corner is a little too close for comfort for me. And the second thing is the deck going into the 50-foot. So looking at the 50-foot buffer zone, I see an opportunity to slide that property or that house to, I'm just looking at it. I'm going to right, left, to the right and move that deck and that corner of the house further away from the buffer zone.
That could be done. The design constraint with that is the grading alongside of the house on the right-hand side. If we were to shift that to the right, then the grading on that right side of the house would be pushing into the 50-foot buffer zone.
My biggest concern is, Dave, is how are we going to protect the wetlands? There is going to be quite a steep slope. How is that little bit of buffer area going to protect those wetlands with the backyard? If it doesn't get expanded, is there going to be a fence, or would it be, how would you add that protection? Because that's the commission's job, is to protect the resource area. And I don't see a way of doing that. Maybe, you guys or Ryan can come up with some ideas how to actually buffer that enough to protect it so that it doesn't run into the runoff, the fertilizers, whatever comes off a residential house doesn't end up in the resource area.
And just so I understand what you're saying, Dennis, when you say protect it, right? Typically we'll talk to applicants about monumentation and such. Are you talking that or more than that?
Well, first of all, just to protect it from anything coming into the area from the site during construction or after construction. But
Right.
Yes, there could be additional protection to the rest of the property on top of that to ensure that it's a fairly large piece of parcel, and some kind of conservation restriction on the rest of the parcel might add to the protection.
Okay.
I mean, Ryan, I don't see an enhanced buffer zone. Like, usually you come in with when there's 50 foot or less in this case, you'll come in with plantings or some kind of enhanced buffer zone that will add some protection in the future. But I don't see any of that on this
You're right. We don't show any proposed plantings. We certainly can do so. That's another point I wanted to talk with the commission about. They left a lot of the stumps, which are red maple stumps. Those have a pretty good capability of regenerating shoots from the cut stumps. But I do realize that, you don't get the same canopy height. So yes, we'd be open to plantings if the commission would like that. We can put that on the plan.
Okay. So you're stating you would come back to us with a set of plans that has something that's showing an enhanced buffer zone.
Sure. What if I could get a little bit of guidance as to, I guess, the scale of what the commission would think is sufficient?
Well, I think that would be your job to come to us with something that the commission would think would be sufficient. we're not gonna design it. I mean, I don't even have suggestions at this point.
Right. Yeah, and Ryan, listen, I appreciate the fact that you took the time to go through that property with us and walk us through it. And I think, we would love to see the applicant be able to build on there. We just want to make sure they're building properly. And I again, looking at this plan, I personally see an opportunity to shift further away from that 50-foot buffer zone. And I would like, and I don't know if it's a reconfiguration of the house, maybe it's not as deep as it is wide, which would move it forward a little bit. Maybe the garage gets moved to the other side. I'm not sure, but I think there's enough ground there to move further away from the 50. And that's what I would like to see. So between that and I think Dennis's request for an enhanced buffer zone, I think we would want to see a different set of drawings on this. And again, I'll open it up to any other members of the board.
Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they already get a variance to move the house further to the road from the planning board to stay out of the buffer zone? Is that correct?
From the ZBA, we got a front yard setback variance. So also
Yes.
the way the front property line is, moving the house to the right would be further encroaching upon that. And
Yeah.
ZBA allowed us 60 feet, and I don't think they would give us any more. So
So you already have done what you could to keep it out of there as much as it was. And this was a previously approved building lot from us at one point, but obviously things have changed because that permit expired, correct?
correct.
And I think that the wetlands themselves have changed over the years, Kevin. When we went out there, Ryan was showing us the difference between when it was approved years ago and what the wetlands look like now. And I think the wetlands have actually encroached further towards where the house is being planned. So we're kind of getting into a slippery slope where, when you think about precedent, we typically don't do anything inside the 50. And I just don't want to open the door to say we're doing anything inside the 50, because if we do it now, the next applicant's going to come in and say, hey, listen, you let, 194 build within the 50-foot buffer zone. Again, we're pretty flexible inside of the 100. I just have issues with the 50.
And let's not forget the applicant. Technically, the applicant should be in violation. He went and cleared the area without any permits. So we want to keep that in mind, that this is, if the commission wanted to get sticky, there could be an enforcement order, and then we couldn't issue an order of conditions with an enforcement order outstanding on it. But the commission's already being lenient on that aspect of it.
So Ryan, I guess the option is we could vote on it and move forward, and the chips fall where they fall, or you can ask for a continuance and go back to your client with the concerns that were brought up and see if you can adjust this plan so it's a bit more palatable to at least, you know, the two members of the board that had a concern, or one member of the board and our coordinator. So
Sure.
I guess I kind of push it to you. What do you want us to do here?
Let me talk with the applicant and see what flexibility there is in the rear of the home, if that can be reconfigured, or the deck could be moved to the side of the home or something. As far as the restoration plantings, that's definitely something we can do. But let me talk, I don't want to speak for him in terms of what the layout he was intending, so we'd be requesting continuance and we'll make those changes.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. And, you know, we'll vote on a continuance in just a second. Again, we're not looking to keep any applicant from building on their property. You know, we just, biggest concern to me is the 50-foot buffer. Dennis has a concern about the enhanced buffer. So if we can get that right, it's going to make it easier for this project to get pushed through.
Yep, understood.
All right. So I make a motion to continue this project to our next meeting, which is
16th.
May 16th. Yeah,
May 16th.
I'll second that.
Matt seconds. Kevin,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Marissa,
Aye.
and Dave, aye. All right. Thank you. Get a sense this is going to be Ryan again. So the next one is an additional continuation from our previous meeting. That is a proposed single-family dwelling at 5B Sawgrass Lane. Ryan, you're here for this, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we did a site visit to this location on the same day, correct?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So what, if anything, has changed since the last meeting?
So no changes since the initial presentation. Just to recap, this is a riverfront redevelopment project. This is located west of College Highway in the west side of the Southwark Country Club, Greens of Southwick. This property contained, prior to clearing, the existing clubhouse, paved parking areas, some maintenance and outbuildings, totaling approximately 39,685 square feet of degraded riverfront that existed prior to the threshold date under the Wetlands Protection Act. So this all is credited towards existing degraded riverfront. All of this has since been demolished and removed. And what is proposed is about 1,557 square feet of impervious within riverfront. Additionally, a portion of the land has been subdivided and will be part of the open space for the subdivision. So the inner riparian zone will be conserved for this piece, as well as allowing quite a bit of open area that we saw will be reverted or left to revert to forest. So overall, the site's a vast improvement over existing conditions. We had the building corner staked out at the site visit. And we also have conservation markers proposed along that southerly property line to demarcate the edge of lawn versus the open space property. That's about the key points. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ryan. So anybody that was on the site visit have any questions, concerns, comments about what we saw?
I just want to say it looks pretty good to me. And Ryan, you were talking about getting a curb cut to College Highway. Has that been established yet?
I'd have to check with the applicant on that. I haven't been working on that.
I don't think it doesn't really matter. I was just curious.
Ryan, I'm here. Greg Hamlin. I'm the owner of the parcel, and Massdep has approved it along with the Southwick DPW. We're using the existing curb cut of the clubhouse,
Okay.
Southwick and Massdep, or the state has approved the curb cut also.
Okay, great.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good place to do it. I think it looks good.
Mehmet, what are your
And if-
thoughts? You were out there with us.
Dave, I just want to say that for the record, that the only reason that I would think this would be an approvable project because it's redevelopment. If this was not a redevelopment project, I would definitely say it wouldn't be eligible, but because of it being in the redevelopment and taking all that impervious surface out of there, it puts it, just for the record, so when people look at it and come in with a project that's not a redevelopment project, they realize there's a big difference.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, based on just looking at the ground there, I mean, the ground is, so compacted, it may as well be concrete as it is. The fact that all of that concrete had been removed, the little amount that's going to go in there using an existing curb cut, it's had 50 years of traffic going over it already. So I don't think there's going to be any degradation to the property. The only thing that can happen is enhancement at this point. So, yeah. Anybody want to make a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second,
Jerry seconds. Kevin,
Aye.
Marissa,
Aye.
Dave, aye. Anybody want to make a motion to accept the project?
I'll move to accept the project.
Second that.
Mehmet, Jerry makes a motion. Mehmet seconds. Marissa?
Any conditions on that, Dave? Are you going to have conditions for that order of conditions? Bonds or, standard order conditions?
I would make a standard order of conditions on it. I don't know if, truthfully, I don't know if I would bond that. It's just a driveway. To be candid with you, I wouldn't personally request a bond on that one, but if you think a bond is necessary, give me your thoughts.
It's totally up to you guys. You're gonna be the ones living with it, so.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Dennis, can you think of any order of conditions that we should think about?
Well, we have the standard boilerplate DEP order of conditions. Then we have the local order conditions that if there's any violations, we have a fine that can be issued. I don't see that there needs to be any kind of enhanced buffer area because he doesn't own the property that is the buffer area and it's going to be open space. So I don't think we need anything in that respect, but just, the boilerplate order conditions, and if you guys want to bond, that's up to you.
I don't think that bonding is probably really, I mean, we didn't hold cheap pasture to a bond, and that was kind of similar.
The driveway going up through sheep pasture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have hay bales along the stream bed and all that, right? That's something that we have to actually say that we require, or because there's a
That will
stream
be
bed there.
in the order of conditions with that, yeah.
Exactly. So
Erosion control
so we
will
should
be-
at minimum have that covered and then go from there.
I agree.
That's
I
my
agree.
opinion. Yeah.
All right, so Jerry, do you want to change your,
I'll move to accept the project with the order of conditions as stated.
And I will
Okay.
still second that.
Mehmet seconds. Kevin,
Aye.
Marissa,
Aye.
Dave, aye. Okay. So we got the old stuff out of the way. Next up, the Southwark Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, GLC 131.40, in the Southwark Conservation Commission Regulations and Bylaws, Chapter 182 and Chapter 450, for a notice of intent. The project location is 194 Granville Road, Southwark, Massachusetts, map 79, parcel 20. Proposed construction of a single-family home with associated work within a 100-foot buffer zone bordering a vegetated wetland, including and off-site intermittent stream is being held tonight via Zoom. Who do we have for the applicant?
I'm the applicant, Anthony Wheeler, 15 Gableview Lane, Southwick, Mass.
Good evening.
How you doing, sir?
Well, yourself?
I'm doing well.
So what do we do? Do you have plans that you can show us?
I have a Heather Comey, just a wetlands person I hired for that. I believe she's in this meeting.
Heather, you out there? Heather, you're muted. There you go.
It was on the list of attendees and then she disappeared.
I can see her. I just can't hear her.
Oh, there
Sorry.
she is. She's back. Yeah. HC.
I don't think your audio is working, Heather. Somehow.
Just trying.
Heather, if you can hear me, you got to push the screen and undo the mute on the left corner.
Lower left.
I'm not showing her as muted.
Well, that's not good.
So Heather, can you, if you can't speak to us, can you share a plan with us?
There it is. It'd be great if we could see it on a screen. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, I think, so we typically require an electronic version of the plan so that we can show it, at least keep it digitally and show it to the commission. Do you have an electronic copy, Heather, that you can pull up? And you know how
It's
to share
on the, hey, Dave, it's on the Town of Southwick website. It's under the Conservation Commission.
Let's see if Heather can, she's going to try and share it first. Gene, where would I find it under, what am I looking under?
You're in the Town of Southwick homepage, go under Boards and Committees,
No,
Conservation
I'm on
Commission.
conservation right now.
On the left-hand side, it says NOIs, RDAs,
Yeah. Public hearing viewing.
public hearing viewing. So if you click on that, you'll be able to see the one.
194
listed as-
Granville.
Yep. You can see the plan in the NOI.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. So I will share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know what I'm looking at. So someone's going to have to tell me what's on my screen right now. I mean, I understand it's a plan, but someone's going to have to walk me through it.
I would think if you could zoom in on the lower left-hand corner where the house is going to be built. Can you make that larger? Kind of shows the buffer zones and the BVW.
You don't want to rotate it clockwise?
Dave, I just want to remind you, you've got 5 other hearings tonight, so you might
No,
want
I
to.
get it. I get it. Well, this is about as blown up as I'm gonna get it. So
Okay.
I guess let's go back to the applicant. Okay, I can't hear the applicant now, so. I can't hear the applicant. I can't hear the consultant. All right. Anybody else hearing them?
No. Should we table this?
What's that? Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to table this and move on. If you guys can figure it all out, we'll move you to the back of the line. Otherwise, we're gonna have to move this to our next meeting, but we need to move on at the moment. So let's go to our next hearing.
So you guys can't hear me now?
Oh, now we can. Yep.
I can barely hear you guys.
Mhm.
All right, well, you know what? I mean, I just dropped it. We're gonna go on to the next one, and if we need to come back to you, we'll come back to you. But right now, the Southwark Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, 131.40.
There we go. I can hear you now.
Southwark Conservation Commission bylaws, chapter 162 and chapter 450 for a notice of intent. The project is at 14 Beach Road, Southwark, Mass, parcel 149, or map 149, parcel 4, proposed replenishment of beach sand at the Southwark Town Beach. Meeting is held via Zoom. Who is here for this? Who's the applicant? Who's here for the applicant?
My name is Alexandra Cicchetti from Arlevec Associates. Good evening, everybody. I will be presenting tonight on behalf of the town of Southwark for the proposed beach replenishment. Let me share my screen, and I hope that everybody can hear me okay.
Yep, can hear you fine.
All right, great. So the subject parcel is approximately 17 plus or minus acres. It's located east of Beach Road. The property currently consists of vegetated lawn areas, existing beach, and associated site improvements, such as a concrete walk, chain link fence, bike racks, and a pavilion. The land generally slopes away from Beach Road towards Congamon Lake, which is the lowest point of elevation on the property. The notice of intent is being submitted for the proposed replenishment of beach sand at the Southwark Town Beach. Sand will be imported above the mean annual high water line, which you can see right here. And it'll be washed sand will be utilized. Proposed work is located within the buffer zone to Lake Congamon and a de minimis impact to bordering land subject to flooding, as the proposed work will restore pre-existing conditions. The project will consist of the installation of erosion controls along the approved limit of work, the import of sand above the mean annual high water line of Lake Congamon. Erosion controls will remain in place until the site is fully stabilized, vegetated, and a certificate of compliance is issued by the Town of Southwark Conservation Commission. Wetland resource areas on the site were delineated by Arlevec Associates on March 16th, 2022. Bank, as shown on the plan, is associated with Congamon Lake. The upper bank of Congamon Lake has been delineated with sequentially numbered blue flagging labeled MAHW, which stands for mean annual high water line 100 through mean annual high water line 117. Bank will not be disturbed as part of this project, as the proposed replenishment will occur up gradient of the mean annual high water line of Congamon Lake. Buffer zone is associated with the mean annual high water line and is shown on the plan to extend 50 feet and 100 feet from the boundary of delineated resource areas. Proposed work within the buffer zone to mean annual high water line includes the existing upland beach area, which you can see right here, up gradient of mean annual high water line to be replenished with washed sand, erosion controls will be installed prior to construction at the down gradient limit of work. The FEMA floodplain insurance rate map illustrates that the site is located within a special flood zone area, specifically zone AE. The 100-year flood elevation for the project is approximately 229 according to the FEMA mapping. A portion of the proposed beach sand replenishment is located within this 100-year flood zone, but below the 229 elevation, and which results in a total alteration of approximately 9,115 plus or minus square feet. The proposed project is solely the replenishment and restoration of pre-existing conditions and will have a de minimis impact of flood storage capacity. I now welcome the commission for any comments or questions.
So
Alexandra?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Dennis Clark? DEP comments? I couldn't seem to find any comments or a DEP number for this.
Not yet,
noticeable.
so we haven't received a number yet or any comments at that.
That's why I couldn't find them in.
Yes,
Thank you.
of course.
Can you give us a quick definition of what a wash sand is exactly?
I've got my partner in crime here, Ryan, who will be able to hopefully assist in that question and that answer.
Sure, everyone. So wash sand would be at a plant where after it's screened out based on size, they would physically wash with water the finers, the silts and clays off the sand, leaving just pure sand. And the intent of that is so when the material is imported on the beach, you don't have fine silts and clays that are going to be suspended in the water. It would just be your clean, coarse sands that would settle out and stay at the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
So sorry, Ryan, do you mind pausing that, Mom? Sorry, my mom's also on Zoom and it's causing an echo, but I do have a question. In terms of that sand being imported in, can you give a little bit more detail where it's from? And is there any possibility of reusing sand that's currently in the lake now and washing some of that?
Sure. So Mr. Scott Lehman of Tynick Landscaping approached us as this is a project he wanted to do for the town. I would assume he would be the one sourcing the sand. I haven't talked to him exactly on the finer details of where he'd be getting that. But essentially for us to dredge and use any sand within the lake underneath the water would trigger other thresholds under the Wetlands Protection Act and the 401 water quality regulations that would probably be not practical for a what's the right word, not a volunteer, but you know, a gift project such as this. It'd be more headaches than it would be worth, and I don't think it would be permittable in this case.
So you don't think beach nourishment is appropriate for this project?
No, it is. Sorry, I'm answering Marissa Cook's question of whether or not we could use sand, if I'm interpreting her question right, sand that was washed into the lake.
That is a form of beach nourishment, though, to retrieve the sand from the lake. Hey, Dave, I just want to, we don't have a DEP number or comments on this, so you might want to just try to continue so you can move along and unless there's other questions for Commission.
So, Alexandria, I agree with Dennis. I mean, listen, I would love to get as many of these things done and signed off tonight as possible, but I do believe we need to see some DEP comments on this.
Absolutely.
So, I'm gonna ask that you ask us for a continuation to the next meeting.
Okay, I'm here and requesting for a continuation to the May 16th meeting.
Excellent. I will make a motion to continue this hearing till the next meeting. Do I have a second?
Yep, me.
Lamette seconds. Jerry?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Marissa?
Aye.
All right. So if you guys can just come back with that DEP number and comments, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, moving on. The Southwark Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, GLC 131.40, and the Southwark Conservation Commission Regulations and Bylaws, Chapter 182 and Chapter 450, for a notice of intent. The project is 138R Hillside Road, Southwick, Mass. Parcel 20, proposed subdivision with a portion of stormwater management basin located within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The meeting is taking place right now via Zoom. Who do we have for the applicant?
Brian Nelson again from R. Levesque Associates. Some of you may be familiar with this site already. We had filed an ANRAD for the confirmation of the wetland boundaries at this subject property, which consisted of multiple parcels. For this proposed project, we are dealing with the access or most northern parcel on Hillside Road, which will be located here. We have various areas of bordering vegetated wetlands. The upper intermittent stream headwaters of Tuttle Brook flows through this wetland located here. So right now, this is the existing conditions of the site. That ANRAD had been approved and these wetland resource area boundaries have been confirmed. So this is the proposed lot configuration. Magnolia Circle would be the proposed cul-de-sac road. This is a proposed FRD development, so those calculations have been provided and are shown on the plan set, more so a planning board lot calculation matter. We have a total of 5 lots proposed under this subdivision. We go to the layout and grading sheet, shows in more detail the soup to nuts of why we're here tonight. There's a bordering vegetated wetland located downhill at the rear of this project site, and the 100-foot buffer zone is shown here. So work within the buffer zone is limited to the stormwater management system for this subdivision. The entire roadway is located within upland, specifically an existing hayfield. The rear tree line of that hayfield is this squiggly line right here. So up until about the cul-de-sac, it would occur within the existing hayfield, and then from about the center of the cul-de-sac downhill would be within successional early forested hardwood forest. Stormwater for the proposed roadway will be collected at catch basins at low points within the road along the gutter lines, and then routed to a stormwater infiltration basin located here. We did test pits in this location to determine groundwater based on requirements for groundwater separation, and due to the sloping topography, we need fill on the downhill side of this basin in order to catch back up to existing grade. And that proposed site grading for that fill is located within the buffer zone to that BVW. So you can see the 100-foot buffer zone is this dashed line here, and then it also stems off of another wetland here, and this is the 100-foot buffer zone. We do have portions of the site grading that are within the 50-foot buffer zone. There's this small section right here. So that would be forested area that would be cleared, graded, and then reseeded and revegetated. Due to the constraints for drainage on the site, we couldn't find another alternative as to where to put a stormwater basin that would give us the adequate soil infiltration. The stormwater basin will have a sediment forebay located here, and then an outlet control structure right here, and then a emergency grass overflow in the case of an extraordinary storm event. It would overflow on this grass level spreader here. Right now, this notice of intent is just for the proposed subdivision and the stormwater related work. The individual build out of lots, namely 4, 3, and 2, and potentially 1, would need separate notice of intents if work associated with those is located within the buffer zone. But as of now, this NOI is just for the subdivision roadway and the proposed stormwater work.
So Ryan, you just brought up a very important point, right?
Yep.
So looking what's happened at other developments in town and the concerns about, does the notice of intent cover the entire subdivision, including the lots, or is it including just the infrastructure of the development and the lots are going to be handled separately? And that is the true intent of what we're looking for. What you're asking for is for the development of the infrastructure of the development, not for the individual housing lots.
Correct.
Okay. So, and in the packet that Gene sent out to everybody, there was an email from our health director, Tom Fitzgerald, to myself and also to John Goddard. And it basically says, I was CC'd in on it. Ryan, you may or may not have seen this, but I'm just going to read it into the record. It says, "Good morning, John. I've reviewed the proposed subdivision plans for Magnolia Home subdivision owned by NK Realty LLP and submitted by R. Levesque and Associates, and have some comments. It appears that some of the perk tests and or depot excavations conducted and shown on C3 are too close to the building envelope in all 5 proposed lots. This assumes that the building envelope locations are to remain as depicted. If so, then several perk tests and other deep hole excavations would be required. In addition, since the town of Southwark does not provide water service on Hillside Road, private wells would be required. Some well setback distances could potentially fall within a 100-foot buffer zone, depending upon where the additional perk tests deep holes are located. Please feel free to contact me." So Ryan, did you get that? And
Yes.
is that addressed with the health inspector?
So I did read that letter from Mr. Fitzgerald. So from a design standpoint, we do perk tests prior to, in the preliminary stages prior to actual site design, because the intent is that, there's no sense in designing a stormwater system if none of the lots are going to have a viable perk. But so that gives us a premise that, okay, there's a potential that we can get X amount of lots, based on these perks. But when we get into the actual design and definitive design of the subdivision, things shift. So sometimes those perk tests end up being in a location that still works, and sometimes they end up in a location that doesn't work and they need to be redone. But that really depends on what the individual lot owner wants for a house and a layout. So the perks very well could be viable as is, but as Mr. Fitzgerald mentioned, there's a potential that they may need to be redone when it comes time for individual lot build out, and that would be done as part of a septic design application.
Okay.
I have a question, Dave.
Go ahead.
For Ryan. In our last meeting, Kevin had a good question. Kevin Solak asked, how can we ensure that the potential buyers of these lots know that they'll have to file? Because that's what's happening now. We approved this plan. It's a done deal. It's over with. People buy the lots and either they don't know or they don't care to know that they have to file with the commission. How do we go about ensuring it at this stage of the game that the potential buyers of these lots are indeed notified about the resource areas and the need for future filing?
So that's a good question. It really depends on the layout. If you take, lot 2, for example, if they want to have a house centrally located with a modest backyard, they likely won't be in the buffer zone, and therefore an NOI is not needed. But if they are in the buffer zone, then it is needed. I don't know in terms of a fail-safe that would be a question I've been thinking.
I know that, that, but the potential buyer might not know that or care to know that. Is there a way we can write that into an order of conditions to ensure that the potential buyer is notified that could be restrictions, potential restrictions, so that there is not an ignorance that's passed down? It's happening on most of the subdivisions right now. We're trying to find a way we don't have to go back and revisit the same issue every time. Other commissions are doing anything to put it in the order of conditions that whoever
haven't-
gets this order of conditions has to notify the people who are the potential buyers of the lot?
I haven't seen that for this scenario. Just a own personal question. Isn't that something that the building inspector would pick up on when they apply for a building permit? They would cross-reference with Concom, and if there's buffer zone, they need a plot plan.
Yes, and sometimes the building inspector picks up, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes the builder will put a silt fence and say limit of work, but go ahead and do it anyway.
Mhm.
And the people who buy the house have no idea, because there's, this person right now that's going to do the construction of the infrastructure, and it's going to be the person that develops the lot, and then there's going to be the third person that buys the house. So there should be, I think there could be some way to put it in the deed that, they would know that when they buy it, it's right in the deed, that there's no claim of ignorance.
I believe that we're experiencing that in another project that we're doing for a subdivision, and we file something that's called a statement of easements, covenants, and restrictions. So that way the notice of intent, statement and restriction gets put into that covenant in that deed restriction document. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but I know that that's something that we're experiencing with another project in the office.
Does that sound like something we'd be interested in, Dave?
Yeah, I think if it's something that we could ensure is part of the deed restrictions for the development, yes.
And with planning board, we did file a statement of easements, covenants, and restrictions. It's part of their required documents that we had to file. And the last one does state notice of intent or any conservation permits necessary. And we did make a statement that those individual lots will need to be listed, that if there's any work within that zone.
Are you saying, so did you file that with the planning board for this one?
Correct. For the
Okay.
definitive stage.
So you've already included that with the planning board here
Correct.
in Southwick. Okay.
Yep.
And I think, listen, in all fairness, we need to kind of maybe do our due diligence and maybe let our building inspector know that this is going to be coming before him, and it's a concern of us that for these particular lots, maybe we need him to keep an eye out. Maybe we poke him a little bit too.
I guess another thing when I was talking about that too as a whole, like, so right now we're strictly looking at just the road right now. But lots 2 and 3, so the road grade right now is being proposed at, say, 435. Existing grades right there are about, say, 425 to 420. So you're talking a 10 or 15 foot elevation difference. So all that grading around the cul-de-sac, really to put those houses in, there's probably gonna be a lot more fill placed around those houses, or a lot more grading closer to the 100-foot buffer. So like right now, it looks like it's gonna look totally different once those individual lots are built out compared to what we're looking at right now. So that's why I'm saying we're not seeing like the whole finalize what stuff's gonna look like once the houses are built.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like
Especially 3, yeah.
2 and 3. I mean, like there's no way you're gonna nobody's gonna have a driveway that's gonna drop off 15 feet. So the fill around that cul-de-sac is actually gonna be more push out to behind the houses. Not that you're within any of our jurisdiction, but we're looking at something now, and then when the finished product is there, it's something different than what we're looking at now. So that's why I don't like. You would think that you'd want to see like what the final product is, not just to this step.
Right, and I understand that, and the nature of me would like to show that and have it all laid out and have a working sense, but each individual lot depends on the type of home, what elevation, depends on the septic design, what the minimum invert leaving the foundation is. There's a lot of factors that we can't assume right now, so we just schematically show pretty much just a box, and the individual build out would be handled as needed in the future.
And Ryan, this isn't something that I'm like picking.
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying as a commission, we should look at. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to see how we can't look at something as a whole. Not, it's not, and I, you know what I mean? It totally makes sense what you're doing. I'm just saying, like, us as a commission need to look at how we
And
can do
I
something.
agree with you, and I almost think that, you know, our twice monthly public meetings is not where we're gonna hash that out and come out with a plan. I mean, I'm almost thinking we put together like an executive session meeting, it's open to the public, obviously, but that would be the only thing on the agenda is to hash that out. Because we're seeing more and more developments coming into town, and we need to get our hands around how that works. Alexandria, I like the covenants and the fact that there's something written into the covenants. I don't think we've seen that yet. So I would love to see what the verbiage of that looks like. But if it's written into the deeds and restrictions, that's fantastic. You know, then it's incumbent upon the landowner to understand what's in their deed. And the fact that one of the requirements is that they file a notice of intent, it's part of the deed restriction. I think that's fantastic, but we haven't seen it yet. Going back to what we're looking at here for the development, where does the board feel about the plan we're looking at for the development? I guess it's hard to say take the developed lots out of it, but for the infrastructure of what the developer wants to do with the road, the retention ponds, what are our thoughts on that?
I mean, to me, it looks like everything's fine. You know, I guess the biggest concern is like there's only one small area where there's that little bit of fill in the 50-foot buffer. That would be our biggest concern.
Yeah,
We're mostly concerned with the 50-foot buffer, correct? So there's just that little bit of fill that they have for that slope for the infiltration basin. I guess that's our biggest concern and what we need to look at, right?
If you look at lot 5, the 50-foot buffer strip comes right up to the corner of the house. People are not going to be able to have a door to walk out, or
Lot 5.
you're looking at lot 5, yeah, 50-foot buffer strip right up to the corner of the house. And that doesn't practically, lots don't make sense. There's not enough room for a yard and, you know, for a house and a yard, especially with the size of houses nowadays. But you know, that's just my opinion.
Is that wetland buffer or is that just a setback?
That's not a wetland buffer.
That's just a setback, building setback, right?
Right. Yes.
it is. You're sure of that?
Yes, there's no wetland there. Positive.
Okay.
And these houses are conservatively shown with a 3,000 square foot footprint, so they're probably larger than what they would actually be.
Okay, so it goes back to what Kevin was saying. Obviously, we're concerned about the 100, but really in this case, it's the 50-foot disturbance in that bottom left corner. Yeah, I'm not in the mood to continue every single hearing that we have moving forward. You know, I think I am comfortable with what they're looking to do to build out the road here, and then we'd have to take the individual lots as they come. That's my opinion.
That's kind of what we do, Dave. I mean, this
So
has
is
to, this has to be
Randy Brown?
approved. Sorry, Dave. So then, go ahead.
Did Randy Brown look at the stormwater and already do his review on it?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes,
Ryan?
we did have we had comments from Randy Brown. I think they were received last Monday. A lot
And it
of
would
them
behoove the
are.
commission at least take some time to look at the comments from Randy to, you know, I don't know if you want to rush things through just to get them through. That's up to you. But I think it's better off to take a deep look at it, look at Randy's comments. He's the one that's going to have any changes to this. So you don't want to, I'm just saying, you know, it's one meeting. I don't think we have to go out and look at it because it's been delineated. That's up to you guys. But, you know.
Yeah, I don't feel a need for personally a site visit. Do you have Randy's comments in your hands, right?
I have a paper copy. I'd have to see if I can find a PDF I could share. I'm not sure if Alex has them handy or not. Give me
Can
one
probably pull
moment.
them up.
Yeah, let me search our folders here. Yes, I do have that. Yep.
Listen, if you have them, great. If you don't, I would be very interested in what the board has to say.
Well, seeing as how the Board of Health had some issues, and we do want to see what DEP has to say, perhaps it would behoove us just to continue this and try to get everything on one page. Like you, Dave, I hate to keep continuing things, but I don't think we know enough about this right now, maybe. That's just my opinion.
Okay. All right, what do we got?
Okay, this is DEP.
Yep. These are comments from Randy Brown.
Oh, Randy, DPW. Okay. Excuse me. Mhm.
And I guess you probably should go over the DEP comments while you're at it, right?
Yep. Yeah. Just you guys let me know and I'll switch to that when you're ready.
I'm more interested in seeing the reply to Randy's comments, any modifications or replies to it.
Okay. Yep. We're working on those. We don't have those at the moment, but.
Okay, so you don't have your reply yet.
No.
Do you have your reply to the DEPs?
Yes, I do. Yep. Let me
But
switch to
Brian,
that.
why don't we do this? Because we're gonna want to see the replies from Randy's. Why don't we just hold off? Can you send us both?
Yep, I can do that.
All right, if you send us both, that way we can review them. And when we come into our next meeting, we'll at least understand what both DEP and DPW, their comments are and your reply to them.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a motion to continue the hearing.
I'll second that.
Wilmette seconds. Kevin?
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Marissa?
Aye.
Thank you. The Southwick Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, GLC 131.40, and the Southwick Conservation Commission Regulation Bylaws, Chapter 182, Chapter 450 for a notice of intent. The project location is 1 Honeybird Run, Southwick, Massachusetts, map 41, block 11, parcel 7, for after the fact unpermitted work related to a single family home, including grading to create a grassed backyard with portions located within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The meeting is taking place now via Zoom. Who do we have for the applicant?
Ryan Nelson again from our Levesque Associates. This
Hey,
is
Ryan.
lot 7 on Honeybird Run. I zoom in here. There was prior discussion several times about this area in the past at Concom meetings. Essentially, to recap, when the subdivision construction for the roadway occurred, a silt fence was installed closer to the tree line, which encroached within the 50-foot buffer zone to the wetland. So here's our wetland here. This is the 50-foot buffer.
Brian, if you're sharing a map, I'm not seeing it.
Oh, sorry about that. There we go. All right, so lot 7 is right here. This is the wetland. The 50-foot buffer zone is located here. So as of, recently, there was a silt fence installed closer to the tree line, and there was approximately 558 square feet of what used to be fairway, but it's still within the 50-foot buffer zone that was disturbed. Soil was stockpiled here. So under this notice of intent, we are going to be moving the silt fence to outside the 50-foot buffer zone. The area that was disturbed within the 50 will be loamed and seeded and left to revert on its own naturally. And then from the 50-foot to the 100-foot buffer zone, that area is proposed as lawn associated with the home construction on lot 7. The home itself and the septic system are located outside the buffer zone, outside of jurisdiction. So this notice of intent is just requesting for proposed work, which would be the conversion or maintenance of a lawn within the 100-foot wetland buffer.
So we had some conversations while we were out there, Ryan, about monumentation at the 50, and I know there was some pushback on that.
So our plan shows conservation monuments along the 50 at the property line, one in the center at the apex, and again at the property line. As to what those are, I mean, the commission and the applicant can hopefully come to an agreement as to what is accepted by both parties. If the commission still
I
feels.
think our request was boulders.
Dave, if I may, I'm Greg Hamlin. I'm the applicant.
Hey, Greg.
My pushback was about the 100-foot buffer, but I am more than comfortable at the 50. It was if we were going to, if it was if I was going to leave them, and that was more on lot 8 than lot 7, but I'm more than comfortable putting the monuments at the 50-foot buffer. So I just wanted to make that clear and go on the record with that.
Thank you, Greg. What do people think about this? Anybody on the commission have any comments?
No.
Dennis?
Dave, Dennis Clark
Yeah.
here. I think the plan looks good, just like the other two plans, the two notice of intents that came in before this one, but the previous two notice of intents never did a pre-construction site visit or post a bond. So the plans look great on paper, but to this day, there's nothing we can do in the field because there's no bond posted, there's no pre-construction site visit. Even though the construction's been done, this is after the fact, it's
Right.
still into compliance. It should have been done. And what's the same thing going to happen with this? Because I understand Mr. Hamlin's not involved with the last two notices of intent that he filed. I don't know if I'm correct about that, Greg, that you're not involved with the last two lots that are next door to that have orders conditions on them.
Correct. But again, I have the order conditions on lot 9. I think they were fair. I wouldn't be opposed to those order conditions going on 7 and the next one that you're about to do. I am willing to put the bond up to make sure the work gets done. So that's all I can say to answer that question for you.
So
What happens if you sell the property and you don't own it anymore, and then the people that own the house are supposed to put the bond up?
Well, isn't the bond is only until completion, correct? Until
Correct.
you guys, so what happens is this house will be sold very shortly. The order conditions will be put into our closing so that they're aware of the order conditions, and I actually have a holdback on my closing. And so not only do I have a bond, I have to perform with I have to perform to get paid at the closing also. So there is every intent of me completing the order of conditions so that I can get my money for my closing. I don't know.
So Greg, your expectation is this work will be done by your closing.
It will
and
not be done. It will not be done by the closing because I think you guys are, we have to have vegetation. That's what I'm assuming is you want to see the grass, the lawn. You want to see the lawn, correct?
We would like to see that the lawn has been planted.
Right.
Yes.
So this order of conditions will carry through to the next buyers, but I am responsible to complete the order of conditions, if that makes sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me because the last two lots that you have orders conditions, you filed a notice of intent for, don't have a bond on them, and you're claiming you're not responsible for those. So no, that doesn't make sense to me.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. There's two order conditions. You filed two notices of intent, correct?
No.
Two orders of conditions were issued, and a bond was required for those, and that never happened.
That was not.
I'm not.
Dennis, that was not me.
That wasn't you?
No, I have the only order of conditions I have with you is lot 9.
Ryan, are you still on the line?
Yep, still on. I think technically the applicant was Mr. Fiore for lots 5 and 6.
The applicant was Fiore,
Correct.
and they still have the order of conditions for the original order of conditions for Fiore on this project, on those two houses. Well, like I say, it looks good on paper. You know, this is what the commission's been looking for all along. If we could just make sure that everybody's compliant with it, would be great as far as I'm concerned.
So standard order of conditions with monumentation at the 50, with grass planted up to the 100, and a bond of $10,000 per lot.
That makes sense to me.
Excellent. So I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Mamet, was that you?
Yep.
All right. Jerry,
Aye.
Marissa,
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
All right, so now I'm going to make a motion to accept the project with a standard order of conditions inclusive of monumentation via boulders at the 50-foot buffer line, grass planted up to the 100, and a $10,000 surety bond.
Per lot.
Yeah, we got to go one at a time.
Okay.
I don't think we can
Lot
go
one, okay.
Dave,
Yeah.
Dave, it's Greg Hamlin again. We have the grass proposed to the 50 if you look at the plan. We're going
What's
for
that?
the NOI. We have the grass proposed to the 50. You said 100.
Yeah, between the 50 and the 100.
All right, I just want to thank you.
Yes, between the 50 and 100. Nothing but wild vegetation beyond the 50.
Correct, sir.
Okay. So that is my motion.
Second.
Jerry, that was seconded by Mamet. Jerry,
Second, yeah.
I say aye.
Marissa,
Aye.
thank you. Kevin?
Aye. Aye.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Good. Let's put that one to bed. All right, next public hearing, the Southwark Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, GLC 131.40, and the Southwark Conservation Commission Regulations Bylaws, Chapter 182, Chapter 450, for a notice of intent. The project location is 2 Silvergrass Lane, Southwick, Mass, map 41, block 11, parcel 8, for after the fact unpermitted work related to a single family home, including grading to create a grass backyard with portions located within the 100-foot buffer to a bordering vegetated wetland. It is happening now and is happening via Zoom. Who is here for the applicant?
Ryan Nelson again, our Levesque Associates.
Thank you, Brian. Let's just make it formal. Let everybody know you're doing your job.
Yep.
I'm going to make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Mamet. Kevin,
Aye.
Marissa,
Aye.
Jerry.
Aye.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to go with our standard order of conditions, inclusive conservation markings at the 50-foot buffer that will be done by Boulder. Between the 50 and 100-foot buffer is going to be planted with grass. And there will be a $10,000 surety bond on the project.
10 or 20?
10 on this one and 10 on the other, so.
20
20.
together, okay. All right. I second that.
Lamette seconds. Jerry,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Marissa.
Aye.
Excellent. Moving on. Southwark Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Protection Wetland Act, GLC 131.40 and the Southwark Conservation Commission Regulations and Bylaws, Chapter 182, Chapter 450 for the notice of intent. The project location is 141 Congamon Road, Southwark, Massachusetts. Map 149, Parcel 1, proposed reestablishment of a restaurant with associated site improvements, including the installation of docks for a marina, expanding the parking area with additional access within the buffer zone to Congamon Lake, South Pond, and the bordering land subject to flooding. The meeting is taking place right now via Zoom. Who do we have for the applicant?
Ryan Nelson again from R. Levesque Associates,
Working
representing
overtime tonight, buddy.
Ken Eggleston. Yeah, I'm gonna set up a tent here soon. Let me share my screen.
It's like they gave you all of Southwick, Ryan.
Wouldn't want to be anywhere else. All right.
There you go. Good answer.
So this is, as you're all familiar and have heard, this is 141 Congamon Road, former Krabby Joe's site. Mr. Eggleston would like to reuse the existing site and reestablish the restaurant, as well as establish a marina at the site.
Ryan, is that the same plan that was presented, the last plan that was presented to the planning board?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, what is the date of that plan? Can I see it? Sorry, I have a screen in front of my screen.
Let me see here. So hold on here. I'm trying to think of a sequence. So we had submitted a revised plan as an amendment of the special permit to the planning board, and that hearing has not occurred yet. So this has been submitted, but we haven't had a hearing on it.
Okay, so the planning board hasn't voted on this revision of the plan yet.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's dated 4/19, correct. So we have the Congamon Lake, South Pond, median high waters delineated, shown here. And then we also have the median high water of Middle Pond, north of Congamon Road, located here. That imparts a 100-foot buffer zone, this line here, and then that intersects with a 100-foot buffer zone from South Pond, which runs through the property here. Currently, there's an existing building. There's many different tiers of decks and walkways and staircases at the rear of the building along a slope, mostly wood structures built above grade. Under proposed conditions, the existing parking lot will be expanded to the south to gain additional parking spaces necessary for the use. As a result of that, there is a proposed retaining wall at the lakeward side of that new parking addition. The reason for that is the grade change. There's a steep drop off in this corner, and there would be fill associated with that, and then a retaining wall to catch back up to grade. The retaining wall is partially located within bordering land subject to flooding. However, we are offsetting that through comp storage through the regrading of this small little upland peninsula here. That will be excavated back, and that results in a net gain in flood storage. Additionally, there will be some handicap accessible ramps constructed from the parking areas to the rear deck areas so that the docks will also be accessible. Existing stormwater drainage within the parking lot will be utilized. There will be no new point source discharges to the resource areas. Everything will be graded such that it grades two low points, which are the existing catch basins, one located here and one located here within the parking lot.
You said those are existing?
Correct, yes. As for the proposed docks, we have 2 docks. These would be floating docks. One of the docks will have 20 slips, and that will be for transient boat parking to service the restaurant use. And then the other 20 docks will be for rental slips, where patrons can store their boat there for the season. The docks, as I said, will be floating. They'll be connected via a removable adjustable gangway plank from the existing deck areas to the proposed docks. We are showing a limit of reconfiguration zone around the docks. This is related to the Chapter 91 regulations as well as the Town of Southwick bylaw. There's a maximum dock construction of 150 feet perpendicular from shore. So that's what this darker dashed line is. The thicker dashed line is our proposed limit of reconfiguration. And essentially what that is under the Chapter 91 permit, DEP allows the reconfiguration of these docks, whether it be location or orientation or of the actual legs of the dock, if you want to call them that, can be altered as long as they stay within the parameters of this area. We have bathymetry topo shots of the water showing the topography beneath the water and the lake bottom sloping away. These docks will not have any flood impacts to the bordering land subject to flooding because they are floating. So in theory, if there's a flood event, these docks would float on top of the water. So no BLSF impacts there. No bank disturbance. The gangways will be set on an upland location, upgrading a bank, and will span bank. And there is an area between the decks and the bank of the lake that has become overgrown since the site's been abandoned for a few years, that we would like to, or the applicant would like to mow or cut the vegetation to grade, not disturb the roots or stump it, but just to make the site more presentable and to, serve for aesthetics for the outdoor dining around the restaurant. So essentially that's the gist of the conservation aspect of it. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Hey,
Can we
so
go through the DEP comments?
yeah, so I have the DEP comments, Ryan. I know they were passed on to the commission. These were the ones from 421. Have you folks had a chance to reply to those?
Yes, we have. Let me pull those up. In response to DEP comments, comment number 1 from DEP was the applicant should clarify why the proposed project is not subject to the provisions of the Mass DEP stormwater management standards. Our response is the majority of the proposed project consists of the reuse of an existing developed site that was formerly utilized as a restaurant. There will be an expansion of a gravel paved parking lot. New earth disturbance work consists of the expansion of a gravel paved parking lot, which is under 1 acre of land disturbance. Additionally, existing stormwater drainage structures on site will be utilized, and there will be no new point source discharge within the resource areas as a result of this project.
So Ryan, I read that when I was reading through their comments and looking at your plan. So you're adding parking, right? So you're adding a non-pervious service that's going to go into the existing stormwater runoff. Is the existing stormwater runoff capable of handling the additional water coming off of those new parking spots? Because there will be additional sheet flow.
Right. So that would require, a pre versus post HydroCAD analysis, which is, something that can be done, but it's time intensive and costly. And ultimately it's not required under the management standards for this scenario. So therefore we usually don't do it.
Okay. Let's go to number 2.
Yep. Number 2, the applicant is proposing to clear or cut the majority of remaining vegetation on the parcel. Per 310 CMR 1053-1, where a buffer zone has already been developed, the issuing authority may consider the extent of existing development in its review of subsequent proposed work, and where prior development is extensive, may consider measures such as the restoration of natural vegetation adjacent to a resource area to protect the interests of MGL 131 Section 40. And our response is understood. That's a pretty common comment we get from most filings. What I will say in addition to that is most of the buffer zone work is, a repurpose or reworking a previously developed area, with the exception of that southerly parking lot expansion.
Right, but there's also some, you said some shrub removal down to grade. My concern is, do we have a cutting plan on that? Are there actual trees involved? What are we looking at taking down there?
No, there's no trees. It's mostly herbaceous, overgrown, and early successional stuff. I mean, it is a gray area. You have a former restaurant that probably mowed that or weed whacked it all the time without question, and then it gets left to be abandoned a year or two, and now it's an area of contention that I'm not sure how it should be handled. So.
Thank you.
Number 3, a portion of the project appears to be located within the roadway right away. The applicant must provide written permission from the property owner for the submittal of the notice of intent. So we are currently working on, or the applicant is in the works of obtaining a license agreement between the town of Southwick for the parking within the Congamon Road right away. And once that is come to an agreement, that will be provided to the commission.
Ryan, we have that.
Oh, you do have it now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
thanks,
sorry,
Ken.
could you just identify yourself for the record?
I'm Ken Eggleston, the owner of the property at 141 Congamon Road.
Thank you.
And we have from the select board's last meeting last week, their license agreement has been forwarded to us, and it's for a 2-year period, renewable. It's an annual thing, but right now it's good for 2 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 4, the applicant did not indicate how the graded slopes will be stabilized. Our response: regraded slopes will occur only along the proposed parking retaining wall in the southeast corner of the site. Upon achieving final grades, the exposed soils on the slope will be seeded with a conservation erosion control seed mix and covered with erosion control blanketing. And that's that small area at the base of the proposed retaining wall. Number 5, the applicant should clarify which seed mixes and species of plants are proposed. Similar response to number 4, the area that was to be regraded would be applied with erosion control seed mix and then erosion control blanketing stapled on top. Number 6, the applicant did not provide details for the proposed docks. Docks should be constructed on pilings or posts as to permit the reasonably unobstructed flowage of water and adequate, I believe, sunlight for vegetation is what it should have been finished with. Our response: the proposed docks will be floating docks and will not require pilings or posts within the lake. This will allow for unobstructed flow of water beneath the docks and will minimize light obstruction to maintain vegetation if present. In addition to that, I'll add, obviously, this has to go through the Chapter 91.
Right, and I understand it hasn't gone through that process yet, right?
Yep, correct. Has not.
Okay. Just for the record, and again, I know it was in the distribution to the commissioners, was a letter from Lake Management Committee outlining concerns about overcrowding on the lake, boats per square acre, and how the LMC had unanimously voted to disapprove this project, not the project of the restaurants, but the project of the proposed marina. I believe they were fine with the transient docks, but they had a problem with the commercial marina. And we do have people from the Lake Management Committee on the call. So anybody from LMC have comments?
What you just said, this is Norm Cheever, is absolutely true. We're fully in favor of the transient docks, which we believe are going to be on the southerly portion of the two docks. But because of public safety reasons, we are opposed to the 20 slips for the marina.
Okay. You know, in the interest of time, I'm just going to say this. This is the first that this has come before our commission. It's a big project. I've sat through many of the hearings with the planning board, but you know, this is the first time we've actively been involved. I would like to go out and see the project. I'd like to see the space. I'd like to see what's going on there. When you're talking about the retaining wall, when you're talking about cutting down plants and stuff, I would like to actually go out and take a look at that. So I'll put it to the commission. Does anybody else on the commission think it warrants a site visit?
Sure, I do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, was that Jerry? Marissa, did I hear you?
Yes.
Okay. So Ryan, I think, why don't we schedule a site visit for conservation to go on a walkabout?
Yep, that sounds great. Just let us know when.
Let's iron that out today, okay? Let's get it on the calendar. I can meet as early as Saturday, AM, if anybody's available Saturday, May 7th in the AM, and that includes you, Ryan. I certainly don't want to assume that you have your weekends free.
I'll have to check about Saturday. Someone from RLA will be there if it is Saturday.
Okay. So from a commission standpoint, how does Saturday, say 9 AM work for members of the commission?
That would work for me.
I may
I
not
can
be
do it.
able to make that myself, but that's okay. I'm sure there'll be enough people.
Okay. I'll make sure that we notify those that aren't here about the, so Ryan, can you put it down for 9 AM Saturday? And then if you guys need to change, can you just let me know and I'll let the commissioners know?
Sure, thanks.
All right. So
Once again, this is Ken Eggleston.
Yep.
I hope that I'm invited to be there at that time.
it's your property. We can't kick you off. Of course, yes.
Of course,
All right. I just think I have a lot of input for the visit. So thank you.
absolutely. Love
All
to
right.
see you there, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I
You're
want-
the
I'm very-
applicant. Ryan's just your mouthpiece.
What was that? I missed that.
I said, you're the applicant. Ryan's just your
Yeah.
mouthpiece. He's a good one, though.
Thank you.
So I'm going to make a motion to continue.
Second that.
Seconded by Mamet. Marissa,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
And that goes against my previous comment about not wanting to continue more hearings. But it's a big one. I want to take a look at it. So have we ironed out the technical difficulties with 194 Granville Road?
Yes.
Okay. Can you show us a plan?
Hey, Mom. Can you hear me?
Who am I hearing?
This is Heather Comey, wetland consultant.
Hi, Heather.
You can hear me finally. I am on my cell phone, and so I can't get a plan up, but
Okay.
were you guys able to open up the PDF that we submitted?
We had it up before. Let me.
When we had it open, it was very difficult to maneuver around it because it's a PDF. I'm not really sure, but and we'll give it another shot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even having a hard time getting into our site right now, to be quite honest.
It was hard to focus on certain areas that are relevant to the conversation and really get a close look at some stuff. You had everything all
So-
on one page, which was very well put together, but hard to really review anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put you folks off. I understand this is important to you, but I think based on the earlier technical difficulties, I'd like to go through this perhaps at our next meeting so that we can actually have your plans up and go through the entire plan.
All right. Can I see if I can share the screen right now?
Okay, it's coming through.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's on my computer, which I can't speak through, but I'm able to
So
speak
you're
through my
not
cell phone.
showing the plan, you're just showing your folder.
It's not showing the plan right now?
No.
No. You have Granville Road revised 4/12/22 highlighted and a kind of a chrome googly kind of circle next to it, but that's it.
So how do I get onto that? How about now?
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm a wetland person. I'm not a computer person, as you guys can tell.
That's fine.
You're not alone. Okay.
Okay, so my name is Heather Comey, wetland consultant. I was retained by AJ Wheeler Construction to delineate the wetlands on site and file a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home and associated utilities, septic system, water, drinking water well, at driveway, and stormwater to handle the roof runoff and the driveway runoff. And there is no work proposed within the 50-foot no disturb zone. It's within the 100-foot buffer zone, outer buffer zone. We've got silt fence proposed along that 50-foot to handle erosion and sediment. And after construction, when the silt fence is up, there will be permanent monuments to mark the limit of work line.
Okay, and I know you've sat through a variety of hearings. You probably understand what Southwick loves for monumentation right now is boulders, if possible, something that can't be easily moved.
Yep. Do you have a specific size requirement?
Big. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think we've actually set a size requirement, but we, decent sized boulders that can't be moved.
Okay.
How close is that septic tank to the 50-foot buffer, Heather? I see it's designated there, but does it kind of spill into the 50-foot buffer?
Hold on. Nice.
I think the tank is actually in front of the house. That's just labeling it where it says new 1,500 gallon septic tank, but it's pointing to the rectangular box in front of the house.
Correct. And so the tank is 40 feet from the 50 foot. So it's like 90 feet from the wetland.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Dennis, have you ever been out to the property?
I have not, no.
I'm not familiar with the property.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was forested. There were a lot of oaks, black birches, and then there was a clear change in topography for the wetland edge. It was moderately sloped along the upland area, and then when you get to the wetland, it's pretty gently sloping. And there was a clear change in vegetation and soils.
So what is going up to the 50 foot? Is that going to be grass or they're going to be plantings?
That would be grass.
Okay. And in the back, I mean, I just get a little antsy when I see construction material and waste storage. That's temporary only during construction, correct?
Correct. So that they store their the like extra loam and things like that outside of the buffer zone.
Does anybody from the commission have a recommendation?
I'm sorry, I missed the construction area watershed into wetland. What is that again?
That is from the engineer who designed the stormwater and septic. And I think what that's showing is just the area that is directly upgradient of the wetland. Because the rest of the slope, all the driveway and the septic is sloping down towards Granville Road. So this area is just the watershed that's going directly to the wetland. This is sloping towards Granville Road, and then it will eventually make its way down towards the wetland, but that's why the silt fence that we have goes all the way up, so that any of the sediment or any water that is sheet flowing off the site in the area that is heading towards Granville Road will have a silt fence before it eventually makes its way towards the wetland. If that makes sense.
To me. Comments from anybody?
It looks like, what is it? The structure looks like it's, half of it is inside between the 100 and the 50, right? On there? Am I reading that wrong?
Nope.
Half of it is between the 50 and the 100, and
Right.
this portion is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, the driveway out of the buffer zone. So the only part that's in the buffer zone is half of the house and
the deck.
yep, and the deck and one of the roof leader chambers, like essentially they're like glorified dry wells.
Yeah.
These units.
So
Oh,
Brian Frank is not here, so I'll ask for him why the house can't be shifted away, further away from the resource area.
There is, I'm not sure what the setback is, but this is the property line, and it's the houses right in the middle between the property line and the 50-foot no disturb zone. The majority of the of the work is outside of the buffer zone. It was just this corner of the house could not be shifted and maintained outside of the setbacks.
It kind of looks like it could. I mean, if you redesigned it. I mean, that's the first question anybody commissioner asks is why does it have to be inside the 100-foot at all? I mean, you can understand if it is, portion of it is, but if it's possible to move more of it outside of the 100-foot, that would be a reasonable question to ask, I would think.
The shape of the lot, if you look at it, it goes in and then it turns, so it makes almost a shorter point. So there is no area that's better than where we picked. And I actually hugged it as close as I could to the right property line, trying to keep the minimum. So I can't put it anywhere on that parcel without having a little bit in that buffer area.
I'm
Has the
sorry,
planning-
sir, but you
has the-
need to identify yourself before your comments can be heard on the minutes.
My name is Anthony Wheeler, the owner of the property
Thank
at
you.
15 Gable View Lane.
Has the planning board seen this yet? Is that 23 feet off the property line? Is that what that's saying right there off that right property line?
Yes.
I don't know the planning board's bylaws. What is 23 feet within there? What's the minimum requirement?
20.
Property?
Say again?
You said planning
20.
board's minimum is 20-foot setback from the side property line.
Correct.
Dennis, do you know if that's what it is 20 feet for a house? How come I feel like they show 50 feet all the time building setback on some of the plans we see? I mean, I'm not.
I think what you're looking at, the 50-foot, is the planning board's imposed buffer on subdivisions. I think 20 feet is probably correct. I couldn't guarantee
Okay,
that. But
the only reason
Yeah.
why I'm asking the question is because we're asking the question, how much can we move it? And I just want to, before we're telling, that's the only reason why I'm asking.
I think it's
Yeah.
dependent upon zoning, because I know over on Powder Mill Road, it's 50 feet. Right? A friend of mine had construction, his was 50 feet. So I think it may be where the property is owned. I'm not sure.
Yes, that's correct. This is Anthony Wheeler again, 15 Gable View. So it is 20. We made sure of that before we plotted it, but I didn't go right to the 20 just because you're always worried that during engineering, there might be a little bit of an error as far as a foot or so. So I wanted to make sure that I had my proper setback on the side yard. So that's why I did go to 23 feet.
it makes sense.
And we're trying to keep, this is Heather Comey. We're trying to keep the septic system outside of the 100-foot. That's this area that is outside of the buffer zone. And have a gravity feed system so that we didn't want the house lower than the septic system.
Right.
Yeah. That was gonna be my next question. So you never tried perking behind the house, proposed house location? I know it's higher, but I guess the only thing, how far is a house off Granville Road? Is there room to move it forward if need be? And have to do a pump system? I'm only asking the question. I'm not.
Well, Anthony Wheeler, 15 Gable View Lane. The setback for the front yard is 75 feet.
Right. The left corner front.
So again, the property turns. So like, it looks like it's really wide, but it's only wide in the front. And if you look at the mapping on it, it turns. So it makes it very narrow. And if I push anything in the back further, I would go into the buffer more so. So it just made a lot of sense because I can also go overhead with the power. because the limit for that is 100 feet. So I'm within that. And it also made the driveway a little bit more feasible.
And this corner of the house is at 75 feet, right
Yeah,
here.
I see that now. Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha.
Is there a reason why the house is oriented specifically the way that it is? I'm just wondering if you can still have the sides that you do, but just ever so slightly shift the orientation.
Anthony Wheeler, 15 Gable View. If we turned the house, we tried different directions. This was the best fit. If we turned it in different directions, it made it too tight with the property to the right. I don't know what direction that is, north, south, east, west, but the right property, if you're in the front yard, it just made it too close. I only had 3 feet to work with. So really that's the best case scenario. Because if I turn it, one area goes into the buffer or too close to the setback.
So I guess the question to the commission is, do we feel that the applicant has done all they can to position the house in an area that does least amount of damage to the buffer zone?
It doesn't look like, there's really not much else you can do, I don't think. You'd really almost like, you'd have to flip the whole thing this way, which changes the entire thing, maybe to just squeeze it in outside of the 100 and in between the 100 and the 20 or 23, that it's just, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we imposed our standard order of conditions with the bonding that we typically do, is this a project that you would accept?
I think Mr. Wheeler has done his homework. I think Heather's done a good job. I think they've done as much as they can. And I would recommend the standard, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's well thought out, at least. You did the best you could with it.
So based on those comments, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to close the hearing.
Second that.
Seconded by Mamet. Jerry?
Aye.
Marissa?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
All right, I'm also going to make a motion to accept the project with a standard order of conditions. Boulder markings at the 50-foot buffer zone. And
Sizable boulders?
What's that?
Sizable boulders?
Sizable boulders, yes.
Visually
Big
sizable boulders,
big,
yeah.
big boulders.
Not little
Sizable
rocks.
boulders and a $10,000 bond.
I'll second that too.
Mamet seconds. Jerry?
Aye.
Marissa?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Okay. We are through.
Thank you.
that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler.
Thank
Thank
you.
Ms.
Thank you.
Coleman.
So I'm going to go into old business or new business, I'm sorry. And I'm going to change the order. I'm going to do 146 Berkshire Avenue first. I know Mrs. Marshman's been sitting on the call for quite some time. Mrs. Marshman's looking to have some tree work done on her property.
If Mrs. Comey here needs to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Oh, that makes a difference. Good. Mrs. Marshman is looking to have some trees and shrubbery removed on her property at 146 Berkshire Avenue. And Randy Brown and I went out and took a look at it. We were looking at most of the issues were primarily just sumac and smaller shrubs. But there was one tree that I'm trying to pull up a picture of that I just can't seem to find, that we are requesting that be maintained on the property And that is a 3-trunked oak tree that provides shade to the lake. And other than that, I think we were pretty comfortable with allowing her to do the work that she was going to do. She was going to take it down, but leave the roots intact. So I guess that's what we're here to discuss right now, Mrs. Marshall. So you're on mute, just so you know.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mary Ann Marshman. Thank you for everything done the Southwick side for 36 years and the Connecticut side for 17. So I have been basically a lifelong resident of Congamon Lake and have enjoyed many of its beauty. And again, that is why I'm so glad that you're giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I know, Dave, when you were out to the property, you didn't want to hear any history, but I do have to mention something. And Dennis has been to the property many times through the years. I had the second tallest pine tree on the lake. And one year it was hit by lightning. It fell down the 2-story hill and into the lake. It was a huge problem and it had to be removed. So this tree had to be pulled out of the lake. And this tree, I would guess, was 400 years old. And I'm going to tell you why I think I know the age is because, for one, it would take 3 individuals with their arms spanned around it to cover their circumference. But the other reason is, Dave, is that my children found an arrowhead at the base of this tree. So it is well thinking that the Indians at one point sat on the hillside on top so they could either go hunting or fishing or watch the other tribes in the area. So I have trees that have been on the property many times. Some of them have died. Some of them have had issues with them. And they've always been cut down to the level. I've always kept the roots on the hillside. The hillside is pretty much made of sand. I do have a very large oak at the very top that Dave has not described to you yet. It is very old also. I love that tree. I have a couple of maples that are wonderful. But these oaks are ugly trees. And you're going to laugh at me. Why do I feel this way? Because I enjoy looking at the other trees on the other side of the lake. And I'm sure people would enjoy seeing my yard cleaned up finally. I used to go on the hillside many a times. It is also covered with poison ivy and bittersweet and some junky things. I also have some wildflowers that I would like to increase that also on the hillside. And I would like to have some grass down by the lake to make it usable. It's unusable. My home is unusable. And I would like to change that. It is where these trees are situated that it's an eyesore, to be honest with you. And
if you don't mind, I'm just really quick going to share my screen so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, feel free to.
Can you guys see that?
No. Oh, there they are. Yep.
Okay. So if you could see my cursor, this is the only tree that Randy Brown, who is our tree warden, and I thought needed to remain. Anything else here, and there's more, mostly on the other side of this deck is sumac. We were fine with her taking it right down to the roots, thinning it out. But this tree we felt was important because it, like I said, it was right on the lake's edge. It was providing shade to the lake. And we felt from a habitat standpoint, as well as an erosion standpoint, it should stay. So
may I make a statement? It's covered with bittersweet vines. It's going to choke that tree. Okay. Now, the other thing to remember is the sun rises across the lake from my property. The hillside is so high that it actually gives shade all along my property. from 12 o'clock after, because the sun sets in the opposite direction. So I will tell you that there is plenty of shade down there that is given by the hillside. If you can see the size of these trees, they were not there recently. Recently, sir, I was injured. I have not been able to keep my hillside properly cut back as I have, and have maintained it. And that's the other reason I would like to have those removed.
So this is not a Dave decision. It is a Conservation Commission decision. So
Mhm.
that is why we're having this conversation, is to get the input from the commission, what their stance is, what their feel is. Is this something that we're looking to let her remove these? I offered to her the option of Vista Pruning, where if it's a concern about her not being able to see the lake, she could thin out the tree without taking it all the way down to a stump. So there's options. So ultimately, it's going to come to a vote as to what we want to do here, but I'd love to hear some feedback.
Dave, it's gonna need a permit. What type of permit would you propose? Because it doesn't qualify for an emergency certification because the tree warden doesn't certify it for emergency certification. So it's on the lake. It would need a notice of intent before anybody can vote on anything. You can't just vote to take a tree down at a meeting. It doesn't work that way.
Thank you. All right.
I agree. That's how it works.
So quick
Go ahead.
question though. So how are we gonna allow her to cut the sumac and stuff like that? That's something that is permittable. How is that permittable? I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of that stuff is like under a quarter inch or a half inch. It's just more of an invasive than this tree, and it doesn't really provide any value to the bank. And again, in my opinion, if she leaves the roots intact.
So who
Yeah,
was
Vista
permitting it
Pruning
though?
is
Was the Conservation Commission approving that cutting, or is it just something that Randy can approve? How does that
Well,
work?
I mean, the intent was to go with her and say, this is what we think we would allow, or my opinion, but it has to come before the board. So, I think Dennis is right. If she wants to go forward with the cutting, she would need to file a notice of intent with
Now for Vista Pruning, if you wanted to just Vista prune is what the other option is. Don't cut the tree down, but just trim it and get rid of the what'd you say, bittersweets, taking it down. It'd be the best thing to get the bittersweet out of there, because that's a nasty invasive, and try to let that tree survive and become healthy and create more habitat for the environment. And I think that could be done. It's just when it comes to cutting trees, they're important habitat elements. Invasives are different as far as just maintaining your hillside. We went out there many years ago with a 319 grant with plantings that never happened. So, it definitely would need a filing with the commission. If you'd like to take that tree down, need to come to the commission with a notice of intent.
I have no problem doing that. I guess what I would like the opportunity to do is see what's on this hillside. I do not mind replacing a lovely tree. To me, this tree is an eyesore. I would rather plant something that would be nice as a visual across the lake. So not only would I be able to enjoy it, but somebody else would. I would like to find a tree that is only perhaps 20 feet tall, something small, a dwarf that doesn't impede on my vision, or it also is in the way of my next door neighbor's view of the lake. I would not like to impede on their vision view of the lake. I have always been very considerate of my neighbors, of what their view of the lake is. And that is, again, I would like to figure out what I could plant. I am not opposed to trees. I would just like a shorter version of it, please. That's all. Something that's, nice. That's all.
I just want to let you know right now, if we let people cut down trees because they thought they were ugly and an eyesore, we probably wouldn't have any trees left on the lake. What you think is ugly or an eyesore is not that to other people. That might be in your vision, but I don't think that would justify the reason to eliminate a perfectly good habitat.
So Marianne, I mean, listen, it's 9:06. We've been at this for a couple of hours. We appreciate you joining us. If you want to move forward, you have to file a notice of intent with the Conservation Office.
All right, so where do I find that, please?
Right through the website, the Conservation website.
Okay.
So you would have to get together with us and file a notice of intent of the work that you're going to be doing. And just so you know, we're going to be looking for a map of the property, showing us the trees and what work you're going to be looking to do, as well as it needs to be topographical, so it shows the elevations and distances.
That's not a problem because our Lebec was just out there.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
Oh,
They're
no,
great at it.
no, it's because I needed also the property lines reestablished because, and just so you know, also, David, my house was built by the town building inspector back in the 1960s. And so the other thing, the town has been very good to me is putting in a new storm drain because as Dennis knows, I used to get a lot of stormwater off the street going into the backyard towards the hillside. So this has been a work in progress.
No, I understand. You've had a lot of work done over the years, and I appreciate that. But just so you know, that's what we need to do. But we do need to move on because there's other people on the meeting that we need to get through.
All right,
this.
thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dan Dumay, 2 Sodom Mountain Road, request to act as a erosion control monitor. Dennis, what's your thoughts?
I think Dan would be the best man for the job, seeing he's going to be out there, he's going to be responsible for it. I think it's an excellent nomination. I would encourage the commission to approve it.
Okay, do we need to do a formal vote on that?
I believe so.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve Dan Dumay as a erosion control monitor for 2 Sodom Mountain Road.
I second
Do I
that.
have a second?
Yes, second that, Mehmet.
Mehmet seconds. Kevin,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
Marissa,
Aye.
right on. There you go, Dan, you're good to go.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. While I'm on with you, I wondered if I could ask for a pre-construction meeting.
Hey, do you want to, we'll figure something out with Sabrina so she can come along with us, and anytime better, worse for you, Dave?
I'm good most days. Monday nights, every other week, I'm tied up. And Thursday nights and Wednesday nights, but other than that, I'm good. No, let me know, Dennis. You know, my schedule's pretty good.
Okay. All right, yeah, we'll get back to you. We'll get it done soon though, Dan.
This week, maybe later in the week? I don't know.
What's that?
Maybe later in the week, Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, sure.
I could do either, so.
After 2:30.
Sure.
Sabrina?
All right, we'll get you an email.
I just have a doctor's appointment at 4 on Friday, so maybe Thursday.
I'll do 3:30 on Thursday.
Let's do that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Ryan, I see you're still hanging around. Are you here for the certificates of compliance on lots 7 and 21 at the Greens?
Sort of. Also wasn't sure if Dan was on at the time or not, but I am,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So where does where does all of this stand? There's been so much going on at the Greens, at Sawgrass, at Honeybird. It's all a blur to me at this point.
Yeah, so there was still that outstanding request for those couple remaining lots. I did receive and acknowledge the email that Dennis had summarized a week or two ago. I did notify the applicant of those outstanding pre-construction measures.
Oh, that was Fiore, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I don't know where those stand. I understand, I understand the situation. I just don't know if anything's been moved forward yet.
Okay. Will you just let us know when you hear back from him? All right.
Okay.
Great. Thanks. Is there anything else that you guys have? I mean, if we can let you and Alexandra go.
I think that should be it.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Commission, I think the rest of the stuff is pretty much we're going to be able to plow through really quickly. Gene sent out something where the American Legion is offering us to march in their parade on May 30th of 2022 between 9:15 and 9:30. The Memorial Day parade. Does anybody from Conservation have any interest in partaking in the parade?
I will not be here. Sorry.
I don't even know if I'll be here.
Yeah, I won't be in town.
Based on the feedback I'm getting, I'm just going to say we're going to politely decline. All right.
Yeah, they don't want me in the parade.
They do, Dennis.
You should go,
Everybody wants you in
Dennis.
a parade.
Believe me, they don't want me in the parade.
The band leader, the band leader. So Gene also sent out something where CRC, so Citizens Restoring Congamon, is looking for they send out a flyer to their members every year looking for dues and fees. So Gene, is this something that we've historically contributed to?
We have in the past.
And what has our limit or our contribution been? Do you recall?
$100.
Okay. And that comes out of our just general funds budget?
Yep.
Okay. From a committee standpoint, does anybody, does anybody want to make a motion to
I'll make a
contribute
motion to
the
donate
Citizens Restoring
$100
Congamon?
to the CRC.
I'll second it.
There you go.
Dave McWilliams, aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Marissa?
Aye.
Thank you. Southwark Rec Center is having a cornhole tournament May 15th. Does anybody want to play cornhole on May 15th?
No, thanks.
It's $40 a team. Now you all know. Thank you. LPP, Norm. I know we just touched on the big thing. Is there anything else LPP wants to talk about?
Can I really quickly make a suggestion before Norm goes, and then Norm can go, and then we'll close this thing? I really think we should put a freeze on any more hearings until we can clear some of this continuations that are racking up like crazy.
I'm in agreement.
I don't know if that is something we can do, but I was
No, actually we can't, because we have to have, we have to have this. We have to have the.
Can I make another recommendation, please? Let's urge these folks to have their act together prior to coming in front of us, so that when we ask for things that they can actually present them as they should, so that we can see them and move on. None of this kind of, we don't have that yet, we don't have this yet. If you don't have your stuff together, don't bring it up then.
But Mamet, once they file with the town clerk, we have 30 days to reply, or they automatically get what they're asking for. So when they come in with their documents,
just some ideas of mine.
Yeah, but when I have no control when they come in and get their documents stamped at the town clerk's office.
Right. We're required to respond.
Okay. All right.
I like your thinking though. I mean, I would love to see all of these things get cleaned up, to be quite honest with you.
We're just racking up like one after another, and they keep
And
coming
you know what?
back.
Next meeting, it's either going to be longer. So
we have 2 more already scheduled for May 16th.
Yeah.
Yay.
In that response where we let them know that they're going to be on the next meeting, is there any verbiage you can just throw on there? Please have your act together, like have your
Yeah.
plan together, have your screen sharing ability together. I mean, it just eats up so much time. So I
No
think
kidding.
if we can just put that in there, we don't have to change the process. Just, is there a way to add that?
Add it to what?
We can strongly
They
urge
get
them
an
to do
acknowledgement
it.
that they're going to be on the agenda. What?
No, they
communication-
don't.
Yeah.
So there's no
No, they don't.
communication at all.
No, no.
I guess the only thing that we could bring up, and believe me, it's a lot more convenient for me to be at home right now too. But however, when they submit their plans, if there's paper copies, it's nice being home because we can do this from home. But the old school way of having a set of plans and people go to a meeting, you don't have that issue. And I know Dave brought this up a few months ago and we haven't talked about it, but we are still the only commission, I believe, that's only doing virtual meetings where other commissions are doing a hybrid meeting.
And I promise you, I did not pay Kevin to do that, but that was my next thing on the agenda.
I know that because I know you brought it up once before, and believe me, like I said, it's 9:15. It's a lot more convenient for me to be home than be at a meeting. But technology, there's good and bad. There's gonna be a lack in some people not having their stuff or being prepared. And the only way to do that is to do a hybrid. And that's, I guess.
Yeah,
what I'll
I
say
mean,
to
whatever
that.
makes it move faster, because these have been some of the longest Concom meetings I've ever been in. I've
Or
sat
you
where
Well,
I've
it's
not
not
been
just the
one that's
hearings, but it's also
2 hours
the
and
signing of
15
the
minutes.
documents and stuff. We could do it a lot easier if we're all in the meeting. I'm all for going to hybrid.
Yeah,
If you like
yeah.
working from home, you work from home. But if you can make it into town hall, I just think it makes it a lot easier. And,
Fair enough.
you know, I've been doing a couple of other committees via hybrid, and I think it works fantastically. So what does the commission think? And I'm going to go around the horn. Mamet, what is your thoughts on?
Hybrid?
Yeah.
What is hybrid? Half and half?
Yeah, well, it's not yet. So you have the luxury of doing the meeting at home or doing it at the town hall.
Yeah, I come to the town hall now. I can because I'm not, a 7 o'clock guy anymore. So I could be there.
So
Before I
Mamet,
couldn't be there. So that's why I was doing the Zoom. And I'll tell you, if I was still in my office, I'd be losing my mind right about now. I'm not, luckily, but I'd be more than happy to come to downtown and meet with you guys and put a mask on occasion if need be. I mean, that's
Right.
okay.
Kevin, I think we understand how you feel.
Yep.
All right. Marissa,
Hybrid.
thank you.
Yes.
And Jerry?
Yeah, I would agree with a hybrid too.
All right. So would I. So do we want to make our next meeting starting up as hybrid?
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. Hybrid it shall be. Norm, we introduced you and then steamrolled you. So you could be the closing argument of the evening.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you.
Did he already leave?
I think we lost Norm.
Did we?
Sorry, Norm. I want that on record. I said, sorry, Norm.
Oh, well.
I'm gonna make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, let's do a voice vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is so closed.